Hi, my name is Alex, and I'm here to talk about the software engineering internship program at Meta. So, in terms of why I'm qualified to talk about this, I spent around 4 years at Meta, and 3 of those 4 years were at Instagram. And during that time, I interacted a ton with interns. First, I had an intern myself. I was a fortunately successful intern manager. I was not only able to get them the return offer, I was actually able to get them an exceeds expectation level return offer, which is pretty big lift for both the intern and the intern manager. And I've been a formal peer for a ton of the software engineering interns that ran through my org at Instagram. So during calibrations, when they get formal peer reviews, like written peer reviews, I was that peer many, many times. And I was oftentimes providing feedback to the engineering manager, to intern manager about whether or not this intern deserved a return offer and how their rating looked like across the different performance axes for Facebook engineering. And I've even like mentored people who then had interns. So like some of my full-time engineer mentees, they took on interns and I was essentially mentoring them on how to mentor their intern. So long story short, I worked a ton with sweet interns at Meta, learned a lot, and it's definitely a wonderful program. There's lots to talk about. And hopefully by the end of this course, if you're a software engineering intern at Meta, either right now or you're an incoming intern, you will have the tools you need to totally crush it and get that return offer and just come out on the other end as a much better software engineer. So how does the Meta internship program work? The point of this first video is just to kind of give an overview. And I think the first thing to say is that the Meta internship program for Swedes is super legit. And what that means is that it's modeled to be as close to the real life experience of working at Meta as a full-time software engineer as possible. So the goal is to be functioning as an E3 meets all by the end of the internship. E3 is the first level for full-time engineers at Facebook. It's like the entry level engineer. And this is no easy feat. Especially if it's your first internship, like coming out of, you're going to be surprised at how far the bar is, how high the bar is. Because in school, like the code you write is very low quality. The bar, I bet, is going to be a lot higher. You're working with much greater scale with with very, very strong engineers. And I've also seen interns get like kind of culture shocked when they came from like, returning from other internships, but they intern at frankly much weaker companies compared to Meta. They're just surprised that like at how much structure and how much higher the quality bar is, especially around code. And because of like this difficulty, the pass rate for Meta interns it's lower than what people think. Like, so most internship programs I worked with, and I worked at many other companies before Meta, getting a return offer as an intern was honestly pretty easy. The pass rate was probably like 90 to 95%. So, but at Meta, so there's really no hard number around this because it'd be awkward to publish it, but just, there's a lot of like word on the street. And based on what I've seen, I think the pass rate for interns at Meta is between 50 to 70%. Personally, I probably think it's around like 70, 75%. Because again, it's pretty hard. Like the bar is pretty high seeing as intern at Meta, and I've seen many interns fail. So this is definitely one of the harder internships out there. But what I will say is that the reward is like definitely worth it. I mean, Meta is an amazing company. It pays very well. If you are able to pass the internship and get a return offer, you're going to get, an E3 offer. Facebook is one of the highest paying companies when it comes to like that E3 band. And for returning interns in particular, Meta places a very high value on like getting returning interns because they can hit the ground running, right? Because if you hire like a fresh E3 that didn't work at Meta before, they have to spend a couple months onboarding. But if you're an returning intern, you already know the stack. So the signing bonuses are pretty crazy for interns. It's like at least 60K. It can go up to as high as 100K. Going through like how the program works, you start your internship. It's generally 12 weeks long. You onboard for a couple weeks, and then you work for a couple more weeks in order to hit the mid-cycle review, which will be like in week 5 or 6. And then you work for another 3-4 weeks after that until you hit final calibrations, which is like week 10 to 11. And then the final 2 weeks of the program. So if you're a 12-week intern, week 11 and 12 are just there for you to kind of, relax because you've been working so hard. And then you just, if you can go into the office, go there, get amazing food, just hang out with people, just, get to be a kid because you're probably still in school, right? So your destiny is decided by your performance in weeks 0 through 10. And how the final review works is they'll take in feedback from your intern manager, which I'll cover more later, and then a few other peers. And then you'll get, one of 4 ratings. The worst rating is you just don't get the offer. So it's like meets some or meets most expectations. And yeah, like I said before, a lot of interns are going to fall to this bucket, probably like at least 20 to 30%. And then there's meets all expectations. This is the most common rating that interns get. I would say around 70% of interns, they get this meet all, like 70% of interns that survive, they will get this rating, like meets all. And then, they just get the return offer. And yeah, I mean, you should be happy with it because you survived. That alone is a non-trivial feat, and you get to work for Meta, or you have the choice to work for Meta, unless you might get a competing offer from Google or something and decide to go there. But 70% of surviving interns will get meets all. Something like 25% will get exceeds expectations, which is the level above meets all. And then a very small portion of interns will get a rock star, which is, I think like maybe 3 to 5% of interns will get a rock star rating, which means they completely crushed it as an intern. In order for you to get a rock star rating, it means you're already well on your path to E4, which is the mid-level engineer level at Meta. And then like exceeds expectations intern is probably like E3 meets all plus, or like, exceeds minus, or just exceeds. And then, yeah, if you just get like, E3 meets all, E3 meets all minus, you get the meets all expectations as an intern, you just get the return offer. So that is, how performance review works. And then going back to kind of the feedback you get. So you have, the peers are essentially just people on your team who you work with. They probably review your code and you ask them for help and all that stuff. And the most important person among like your peer circle is your intern manager. So like I said before, Meta tries to make the software engineering internship program as real as possible. So you literally have a full-time engineer at Meta who is your manager. Like if you look in the org chart, you actually see yourself like underneath, this engineer, like you're formally the report. And it's just kind of cute because you get to see like, these more junior engineers. A lot of the intern managers are E3s and E4s, and they have like a report under them. It's like pretty cool. So this person is very responsible for your well-being and your success because they literally are your manager. So yeah, that's the mentorship structure that you have. You have like a formal intern manager. They're going to do a lot of stuff for you, and then you're going to have 1 to 3 peers on the team who will also support you on top of your manager. Kind of to add more information around that, the intern manager will it will be on a team of like 7 to 15 engineers. So there's also their manager, and you should get to know the overall team and the manager as well. So yeah, kind of to wrap this all up, the Meta internship program is hard, but it's worth it if you can make it. Number 2 is the overall structure of the internship program. You have onboarding for a few weeks, and then a few more. And then, so onboarding is weeks like 1 to 2. And then you have weeks 3 to 5 for just like working on stuff. And then mid-cycle will be like week 5 or 6. And then you have another 3 to 4 weeks to work on stuff. And then final review is like week 10 to 11. And then again, the last 2 weeks are for chilling. So that's the overall kind of timeline of the internship. And then number 3, you have a formal intern manager. Like you literally report to them, and you should lean on them heavily, which I'll cover more later. So yeah, that's how the Meta internship program works.